Now, I guess the big question for banks is, okay, I put out a stablecoin. What can I do now with the stablecoin? And I think Merlin might provide some answers to that. So Merlin, over to you.
All right. Hi, everyone. I am going to share my screen. All right. So let's go. We're going to see a few use cases on how to scale stablecoin using DeFi protocols. So about Morpho, Morpho is the most trusted lending network on chain. There's close to 13 billions of total deposits. And Morpho, you can see it as the on-chain loan infrastructure where people can lend assets and earn yield on top of that and borrow crypto assets. We've raised 70 million in funding from Rebate Capital, A16Z, and various other large VC firms in the space. Morpho is an open financial infrastructure, so anyone can interact with it. It's fully permissionless, fully immutable. It's a very credibly neutral platform. Morpho has been integrated into various venues like Coinbase, Ledger, Trust Wallet, Binance, Gemini, and it's used as the go-to platform for lending and borrowing use cases on chain. As I say, there's close to 13 billions of total deposits. So we've faced huge growth over the past few years. I'd like to jump straight into case studies that I think can demonstrate the power of what can be done on Morpho, and especially around stablecoins and how it can grow stablecoin usage. So the first one is one of the largest integration we've done. It's with Coinbase, and basically Coinbase is integrating Morpho to power their crypto-backed loan borrow product. What is it? It's people using the Coinbase main app can, in just one click, borrow USDC against their Bitcoin. So there are tons of Bitcoins on centralized exchanges or under custody into banks that offer those kind of solutions. But the problem is if you want cash to borrow a house or like whatever you want to do, either you have to sell your Bitcoin, or you can maybe sometimes borrow against it, but it's quite expensive in terms of the yield is not great, the user experience is not great, there's the loan to value is not great. While here using Morpho, Coinbase that access to their users global the access to global liquidity, and with a very, very nice UX. So you can see on the right side, basically in just a few clicks, you can instantly borrow USDC. Right now it's up to 1 million, but they are going to increase that threshold. And the rate, for instance, is at 5%. The interesting thing is, like, user don't even see that it is using Morpho behind the scene. It's fully abstracted by the Coinbase main app, and it's using like some technology like smart wallet, passkeys, etc., to provide the same experience that you would have using a neobank or even like a traditional bank when you can like transfer money. And the nice thing as well is that because Coinbase users can get access to a global liquidity network, the rates to borrow is super cheap. So it's 5%, and we have like many institutional that came to us and ask us like, how can retail users can get better rates against the Bitcoin than us? And the reason why is because the Coinbase app is tapping into Morpho's network, where everyone can lend USDC, and those USDC then flow to Coinbase borrowers. So far, just in a few months, and it's just retail users, the 1.4 BTC has been deposited as collateral, and almost 1 billion of USDC loan have been originated thanks to Morpho. So that's an example of what you can do using DeFi protocols, and it's expanding the usage a lot to stablecoins. Another use case is this time on the opposite side, which is the earn side. So basically, you have lenders that are like lending to borrowers, and here, for instance, we have Ledger that they have an interface. So Ledger is like the leader in a cold storage hardware wallet, and they integrate Morpho to power their earn product. So what you can do as a Ledger users is using Ledger Live interface. You can just if you have USDC, ETH, BTC, or whatever asset, you can quickly, I don't know if it works. Yeah, it works. You can just deposit your asset in just a few clicks and against earn yields on top of your USDC like 5, 6, even more, 10% on top of that. So that's another way that stablecoins can be really useful for users because they can almost get access to the risk-free rate while they could not using like more traditional options. So here you can see a bit the architecture, and I'll go a bit deeper into the details. But behind the scene, you have Ledger users that interact with the Ledger interface, and this goes into what we call Morpho Vaults that are then depositing liquidity into Morpho markets. And those markets, for instance, here it's an example with Bitcoin as collateral and uses USDC as loan asset. Then you have borrowers that can borrow that liquidity against Bitcoin, Rappi, for whatever the asset. And those borrowers could be potentially like Coinbase users, and this is where it's very powerful, is because you could have Ledger on the lending side, but also Safe or Binance or any other actors that wants to provide yield to their users. So here's the architecture a bit cleaner. You have the vault that allocate the liquidity from users. And then this is deposited into markets. So maybe we can go a bit into the details of those markets. So Morpho markets are like the risk is isolated. So one specified the collateral asset, the loan asset, but whatever happen on one market, it does not affect other markets. So let's say, I don't know, collateral asset depeg, or there's a hack or whatever, the deposit that are on other market won't be affected, which is like a key design choice. And this is what makes notably Morpho an institutional grade solutions for our partners. Also, the smart contracts are fully immutable. What does it mean is that when a partner integrates Morpho, there's no risk that the Morpho governance or whoever third party can change the parameters or change the behavior of the protocol. So it's a truly immutable smart contract. And so an integrator that creates an earn or borrow product does own the product from top to bottom. And this was a key, very important thing for Coinbase, for instance, because they don't want to rely on the Morpho team for instance, for the Morpho protocol to behave nicely. There's no such trust. And at the market level, users, there's a liquidation mechanism that makes sure that markets keep or stay healthy, even when there's like a price movements. On top of those Morpho markets, you have Morpho Vaults. Morpho Vaults are like smart contracts where that kind of abstract the complexity of managing liquidity on chain. So as a user, usually, and you just want to deposit your asset and earn yield on top of that, and you don't care about like managing your liquidity. You just want to deposit and forget. This is the role of the curator. So it's basically a risk manager that will allocate the liquidity that has been deposited by Morpho users into the vault. And that curator will allocate depending on market conditions, on yield, etc., among the different markets, the different Morpho markets. The nice thing about Morpho Vaults is that it's fully customizable. So anyone that wants to create a earn product, like I don't know, a bank or a fintech, they can create a vault and personalize it to make it compliant, to gate it to specific users, to select the fee management. Maybe they want to integrate a performance fee, management fee, do a split between another distributor. Everything is possible and it's fully customizable. Also, vaults are non-custodial, which is an important thing for from a regulatory point of view. And this is like done via a kind of like a different parameters, like in-kind redemption, there's time lock and separation of roles. Here, as I said, you can have like a vault that is fully compliant, and you can enforce KYC at the market and vault level and sanction screening, etc., etc. Maybe we can go a little bit into what could look like a bank integration of Morpho. So usually banks can service like a different type of loans, like consumer loans, residential loans, commercial loans. You have like depositors that will go to the bank and deposit, sometimes earning yield on top of that, and borrowers on the other side. That's what banks look like today. This is what you can do on Morpho. So as I say, Morpho Vaults, the markets, and borrowers that can be anyone on the globe. And here's what could look like the banks of tomorrow. So it would be a mix of on-chain stablecoin lending and traditional lending. And this is a very big opportunity for traditional banks, because here they could transform users' deposit into stablecoins and lend those stablecoins into a global market that is accessible to anyone on Earth. And what that means is that you can benefit from DeFi's network effect, better pricing, better yield, and so better products and better solutions for banks users. So I want to be mindful of the time. So if there's any questions, maybe we can.
Yeah, thank you very much. You were not only mindful of the time, you were also diplomatic with the last slide, of showing really like the two worlds living next to each other. So no substitution planned. There were a couple of questions here. So the first one is Morpho Vaults compliant by default? So because you mentioned it a couple of times, you also shown the slide. So can you please maybe elaborate again what it means from a compliance standpoint to integrate Morpho?
Yeah, so no, it's not by default. What Morpho Vaults offers, though, is the capacity to enable any form of compliance. So you can have like a system of gates that you can put on your vault or at the market level. And you can say, oh, I'm willing only to interact with markets or borrowers or lenders, whatever, that have only those kind of type of KYC, and you can enforce that on chain. So you have certainty about the fact that you will only interact with the user that match the requirements that you have specified. On our side, we don't want to make a choice, and we don't want to say, oh, only those KYC can be used on vaults. It's up to like builders, integrators, fintechs, banks that are building on top of on top of Morpho. We wanted full flexibility for them.
Another question is about, I guess, the differentiation of Morpho against other lending protocols that people know, like Aave or Compound? How would you like describe the difference?
Yeah, great question. So I think I touch base on a few items. For instance, the fact that it's fully immutable, the governance that has no cannot change the logic, cannot upgrade smart contract. This is very important for a lot of fintechs and institutions because they can't rely on a governance to behave nicely. Because Aave or Compound's governance, for instance, could at any moment change the rules and the parameters or even upgrade and steal the funds, which is not something that fintechs want to risk. So that's one thing. Also, the fact that markets are isolated usually on lending protocols like Compound or Aave. If you deposit an asset, you're exposed to all the other assets that are listed in the pool. So that means if something bad happens as a USDC lender, you can be affected by that. While on Morpho, you only be affected to the market that you have selected. So you can, as an institutions, you can really select the risk profile of the product that you're providing to your users. That's a few things that, but really what maybe the TLDR is Morpho is an infrastructure to create on top of which you can create funds and product on top of on top of it, while Aave and Compound are managed funds.